Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. I guess we all heard that voice. This meeting is being recorded. All right. Well, welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. And of course, joining me to do a great weekend wrap-up of sports is Jason Cameron. Today, we're coming to you on a beautiful sunny afternoon of Tuesday. We postponed it a day, but we got a lot of amazing stories to talk about today. First of all, let's find out how Jason's doing. How's your week starting off? How was your weekend? How's everything going?
Things are good. Weekend was very quiet. Took it easy. Just kind of getting over, as we were talking before we came on the air, getting over like a little back thing, but feel great now. Feel good.
Nice.
And I'm finally able to go back to the gym this morning. So yeah, things are good. And it's a beautiful day out. Great.
Yeah, well, good, man. Well, glad you're getting healthier. You're back to the gym. That's super important, obviously. And let's get into this. Shocking news when we woke up this morning. Couldn't believe it. I'm not sure, but I don't know how to check this, but has hell frozen over? How would we check that? I don't know, because the world of golf has been rocked by a shocking merger today between the PGA Tour, LIV Golf, and the DP European World Tour. The Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund shook up the world a couple of years ago with coming out with their own league, really being able to bring a lot of the top talent over to LIV Golf with some big dollars. And the PGA Tour has just run them into the ground, saying they are to blame for 9/11, for everything under the sun, climate change, the oil prices rising, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny being not real, everything under the sun. And the PGA Tour has reversed the course and signed a deal with the devil today. Shocking news, unbelievable, leading all the major sports stories today. And I just can't believe it, man. This is unreal and very stunning.
Yeah, and they were so sneaky about it, because nobody would have ever guessed that this was happening behind closed doors. Because as they're talking down LIV on the one hand, they probably were talking to them on the other for months for this to happen, for months. And it ain't shocking, because nobody, unless you're on the inside, nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw this
coming. You froze. Did I freeze too?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
I was just saying.
All right. Oh, well. Go ahead again. You froze, and but let's go back. Go back at it.
Okay. Anyway, so I was just saying that it was just sneaky, like the fact that they were able to keep this under wraps until it was actually the deal was done is amazing. That it didn't leak. I know that nobody put it out there to say there's rumors out there that this could happen. Nobody knew a thing, and that's very impressive for something of this magnitude happening.
I agree. That is one of the most shocking aspects of it, that this was done with only a few very select people involved at the higher levels, kept it under wraps. I saw a lot of comments today from guys on Twitter, the PGA players, and they were just stunned. They just had no clue this was even a possibility. They were made aware of the news on Twitter like most of us were. And to be saying all this publicly and then doing that behind closed doors in secret, it's just insane. I think the PGA Tour commissioner, his name's Jay Monahan, and he has really been very against LIV Golf, has said, very derogatory things, and said, never would we ever consider something like this kind of a move. And I think that he, in a way, did this to try to save his job. But I think this actually probably makes him lose his job, because I can't see that the PGA Tour members, any of them, are going to be happy about this, because most of them turn down 20s to 30s to hundreds of millions of dollars to join LIV Golf, to support the PGA Tour and not support LIV Golf and what they were all about. And then he goes and does this behind their back, where he's supposed to be leading them all. And a lot of these guys look really, really bad now from taking a stand where their PGA, their whole league really didn't believe what they were saying.
Yeah, exactly. They took a stand, and they stayed they stayed loyal, right? Like, and that's the fleeting thing nowadays, loyalty with a company, right? They stayed loyal, and what happens? It's like, well, I'm so glad that you guys did that. You gave up all that money, but here's the deal: we're just going to join them anyways, right? That's what's going to happen. And it's just like, wow, okay, that's great. But okay, so now that it's happened, though, like moving forward, is this better for the competition of professional golf, this merger?
I think so. I think it's great. I think it makes the game more global. It stops this infighting that's been just sort of becoming tiresome and really just not benefiting the game of golf. I think this will be great I think everybody will make more money. I think the game will have far better reach. I think the opportunity for the best golfers can play wherever they want to play. They don't have to be, contractually obligated to play with one league. They can just jump around and play wherever in the world they want to play. And I think this is better for the global game.
Yeah, I think so too. And also too, like sometimes all these guys got families. Like everybody got family. They got families, right? So now you could actually structure your year better. Because I think because you have more leagues now and all more choices, that you can mix and match to whatever is conducive for you and your schedule. And I think that's good for the players. I think that's a really good thing for players.
Yeah. Well, the attraction to LIV Golf was definitely money for a lot of players, but a lot of players did rightfully say that they had to play less events. They had to play shorter events. They were only playing 3 out of 4 days, so they had 1 or 2 less days committed to the tournament. And, they were able to spend more time with their families. And I have to take a guy on his word that, his family's important to him. He wants to, be around them more. And he was able to, obviously cash in big checks once you moved over to LIV Golf. But their tour schedule is a lot friendlier, a lot easier on the guys. They're not having to grind it out week after week after week away from their families. And I think if a guy, has a family, he moves to LIV Golf. If he's a single guy and he doesn't have commitments, doesn't have that, he really wants to chase, money and play a lot, he can go and play the PGA Tour. If a guy really wants to be around Europe, maybe he's an American guy that really hasn't traveled much in the world and he wants to go to Europe and play, and he's not penalized by playing all over Europe and seeing that, the continent there. I think it's great. I think there's so many benefits to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I agree with you. I think just the fact that the players can move, they have movement now, and they can just play wherever they want and structure their schedule the way that they would like. I think it's great. I think it's great for the game, and I think you'll probably see better performances because guys won't be so tired out, because they can now take some time off and be like, all right, well, I have this nagging thing, or I have this that needs to be taken care of. So I'm just going to take some time off and then come back and play on this event, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think most of this merger really takes effect until the 2024 season because they're already immersed in each league, and there's different types of things that they're committed to. They'll be committed to, the cities, the tournaments that they already have scheduled and stuff. But I think we'll see some massive, drastic changes in 2024 moving forward. It will be interesting to see what rules are adopted by each league. One of the things that has been really great for the LIV Golf has been the team aspect. and all these guys are not only playing individually, but they're playing with 3 other partners on a team concept. And I heard a couple weeks ago that one of the teams was being approached, and they wanted to give them $2 billion to represent their team, be a sponsorship for one of their teams. So I think the PGA Tour wants to adopt that team format, and that'll be a very cool and interesting wrinkle to a tour that's been very resistant to change in any capacity like that.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that LIV brings to the table, is that it's just change, period. Creativity, just being like, you know what, why don't we try this? I understand tradition is important, but you know what? I think we're allowed to evolve. I think we're allowed to, so let's try this. And I think it's great for, like, obviously for the players, because they're like, oh, so you mean I can make even more money through sponsorship doing this? So why aren't we doing this today?
Yeah. Well, it's great because sometimes guys don't necessarily have a really amazing tournament, but their team plays really well, and they end up cashing a check for $500,000 because they were on a team that had a really great week. And it's an opportunity to even make money, even if you have a bit of a struggle that particular week, but you play 1 or 2 good rounds and help your team out. So I think there's so many amazing aspects about it. I can't wait for all the details to emerge. The golfing world was actually turning their attention north of the border today or this week to focus in on the Canadian Open, which is taking place at the Oakdale Golf and Country Club in Toronto. And so a lot of the PGA Tour players were arriving into Toronto this week. And all of a sudden I hear that they had a closed door meeting today to discuss the things that came out in the press today. And it'll be very, very, very interesting to hear what types of comments and what types of things that they're going to say after they have this meeting. I wish the media was allowed into the room at the time, but we'll see what the guys say upon coming out of the room and want to discuss what was said in the room amongst themselves.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, like, is there going to be a large majority of players that are actually pissed off because they're just like, you did this, and so I gave up this much money to stay loyal, and then you go and do this? Like, I'm curious to see that. Like, or are they just going to be accepting and say, you know what, I think this is probably for the better. Like, it's already happened, so we can't fight it. Like, it's happened. So we're just going to go forward, and hopefully everything's going to work out.
I actually think that there won't be any PGA Tour members happy. I can't see any of them being happy in the initial phases of this. Once they start seeing the money, seeing the changes, possibly. But I think right now, like you say, the loyalty aspect of it, the trying to stay true to the aspects that the PGA said was bad, with the Saudi Arabia money being sport washing and being blood money and all this kind of stuff. It'll be hard for guys to go back on their word and what the things that they've said in the media over the last while since LIV has existed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because they're saying all of this, but like a merger on this magnitude, on this scope, takes a long time. So they're saying all that, but behind closed doors, they're doing all these meetings to make this merger happen, which is just wild. It's wild.
Yeah, and I sort of wondered if there was any way that the PGA Tour could rescind this deal if their members all just decided to strike or decided to say that he didn't have the authority to do this on their behalf. I don't know how the PGA Tour upper echelon executive committee works, but I don't know how much say the players have in the direction that the league goes. It'll be interesting to see if people start talking about that part of it.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. Or, like, for the executive committee, was there actually somebody in there like kind of like a representative of the players, I guess, but not telling the players anything. But he was there, right? Like so, I don't know. Like it's just a shocking turn of events, and it's weird, but it's exciting. I think it's growth for the sport at the end of the day. I think it's growth for the sport, and I think it will be good for the sport eventually down the road.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great for the sport. I feel sorry for some of those guys that did stay loyal and turn down hundreds of millions of dollars. I think we're talking Rory McIlroy probably turned down maybe, a few $100 million, maybe $500 million. It's how can you ever get that back?
You can't. It's gone. Luckily for Rory, he's like, at least I'm not poor. But
it is great news, but you got to feel sorry for a few of the people involved, and loyalty should pay off in the long run. It doesn't seem to be paying off for a few of these players, but that was what we woke up to, the news of the day, and we're still trying to unpack a ton of it. I'm going to try to give lots of updates. I'm going to try to have somebody involved in the tours come on and do a podcast, see if I can get somebody that represents LIV Golf, somebody that can represent the PGA Tour, maybe even the DP European World Tour. It'd be great to really start getting and uncovering a little more detail to what went on here, and the sort of the prevailing opinions and thoughts of most of these PGA Tour players that really are only been heard from on Twitter with 140 characters so far.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like just to get their thoughts, and then also too, like if you can just get like, how did this even come about? Like, how did this even happen? Like if you're battling it out in media, and then does somebody finally from LIV go, hey, what do you think about a merger? And then they're just like, what are you talking about a merger? Are you serious? Well, wait, how much money could we make?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's always about that. Like, how much money can we make? We did this together.
Yeah, you're right. It seems to always come back down to money in the end, and I think, we'll see. But okay, well, let's get to some of the other sports news. Over the weekend, we were able to see another shocking turn of events. After game one of the NBA final, Denver handily beating Miami, it seemed like the world was like, okay, this is going to be a sweep. This is going to be easy. Denver's got the title. They were almost crowned kings of the NBA after one game out of a 7-game series. And I was like, okay, hold on, people. We're talking about the Miami Heat, Jimmy freaking Butler, and Eric Spoelstra, and this incredible roster, and this run they're on, and they've overcome the odds time and time again. You're counting them out already? What the hell's going on? And the Heat proved that they still got game, they still got the ability, and they pulled out a great win, 111-108 in game two. And this series is tied now, 1 game apiece, heading back to South Beach, Florida. And Miami has home court advantage now, and has really shooken up this series and made it very interesting. Pretty funny how everybody had them written off, and now they're like, oh, okay, maybe they got a chance.
Yeah. You know what? We should have learned by now. With this Miami Heat team. Don't count them out. Don't write them off, because how are you going to count out and write off a team that took out the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the East? Honestly, how are you going to do that? You should never do that, because they figured out a way to get to the finals, and they figured out a way to get to the finals without their second leading scorer or third option with Tyler Hero. With the fact that they're missing a freaking guy, and they still got to the finals. So you have to understand, it's like, no, they've been in these situations before. They're excellently coached. Like they can figure it out. And the way that they did figure it out in game 2 was they changed the starting lineup by inserting Kevin Love into the starting lineup. And that was a key move on their part, because now Kevin Love match up with Aaron Gordon, and Aaron Gordon couldn't bully the person that he was matched up against before, like he was in game 1, which was Max Strus and whatever. They couldn't do that anymore. They took that away. And eventually Spoelstra, with the magnificence of his coaching, did things in key situations to take away certain options of the Nuggets that made it harder, made the game muddier for them to play. And it was genius. It was genius.
That was one of the biggest keys. I knew Spoelstra was going to come up with some different game plan, do a different way of attacking. Inserting Kevin Love really just changed so much of the dynamic, because better players could be matching up defensively on other guys that weren't able to in that first game. The other thing was they just said, let Joker score and not let him facilitate, not let him pass the ball and get everybody else involved. And he had a season low 4 assists. He had 40 points, but a season low 4 assists, and nobody else could really get going and really have those types of games that he needed people to pull him along. And, it's pick your poison with him, but, that has worked in the playoffs. And Spoelstra, the Miami Heat brass all got together, the players, and all made a conscious decision to let Joker eat, but not let anybody else eat. And it worked perfectly. Yeah,
exactly. It worked, but it was a close game. They only won by 3. So what I mean? Like it is pick your poison, but at the end of the day, like Joker is that good. And he's just like, you know that the way that he prefers to play is to get everybody involved. Like if he only took 4 shots and had like 17 assists, he'd be super happy about that. He's good with that, right? But at the same time, he has the capacity of like, man, I guess if I have to put up 40 or 50, I can do that too, right? And it's going to be a dogfight to still beat us. Like it's not a guarantee. No. It's not a guarantee, but the Heat had timely shooting down the stretch. Gabe Vincent was once again freaking awesome. He was once again awesome, 23 points. Adebayo I thought he was a lot better in this game, because game 1, he had 26 points, but off 25 shots. And this game, he had 21 points on very much higher efficient shooting. So he had a way better game, way more efficient game. And it was impressive, man. It was very impressive win. Very impressive win.
Yeah. I pulled up some stats here with Jokic's statistics in wins and losses. So in wins, he's averaging 27 points, 13.5 rebounds, and just over 10 assists. In their losses, he's averaging 42 points, almost 11 rebounds, and 9.5 assists. So that's been the recipe for getting being able to beat this Denver Nuggets team. In his wins, the assist to turnover ratio was 3.5, and in losses it was just 1 and 1.8. So definitely, you really want to eliminate the rest of the team and let him eat. He had 41, 11, and 4. Jamal Murray had an off day with only 18 points. He had 10 assists, but only 18 points. And then nobody else was really able to contribute. Aaron Gordon had 12. Bruce Brown had 11, and Jeff Green had 9. They were able to really shut down almost everybody else and, get this huge win. Now it shifts back to South Beach, where Miami has, been very, very good. So does this really tip the scales now in Miami's favor? And, are you seeing after these next 2 games in Miami, do you think Miami's going to be leading this series 3-1?
No, I don't. I honestly believe it's going to be another split. I think I've kind of thought this, and now I definitely think this now after game 2. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be an absolute dogfight. I think these, like the Heat have shown that they can win the game, number one, and they can play Joker in a certain way where they can win the game, right? Yeah. So the thing that I was more impressed by is that it seemed like the Heat could figure out more like more scheme and strategy against the Nuggets than the Lakers could. And the Lakers have a better team, right? And so with that being said, I was just kind of surprised because I'm like, so how could the Lakers not figure this out against the Nuggets? How could they not even win a freaking game? But the Heat can figure it out. And another thing I want to bring up was that Adebayo fought Joker. Like he banged him, he pushed him, he competed his ass off against Joker. Yes, he still dropped 41, but Adebayo was there giving his all on the defensive end. Something that sometimes I don't believe Anthony Davis did at all times. And Adebayo was there fighting him the entirety of that game. And that's what they need. That's the effort that they need. And then Jimmy Butler, with them putting Kevin Love into the starting lineup, then Jimmy Butler could match up against Jamal Murray more. So, I think in game one, they were matched up maybe 4 times, but in game 2, it was like over 30. And that was a huge change in the game plan too as well.
Yeah, a lot of people point to Jimmy Butler's points being, quite reduced in this final, but what he brings to the table is just incredible. Defensively, toughness, intangibles, getting everybody else involved. I'm glad you brought up Adebayo's toughness. The thing about the NBA that bothers me these days is toughness is usually something that you can't display because they call fouls too easily. They call flagrant fouls just ridiculously easy, and they really take the toughness out of the game. But I'm glad when the playoffs really get ramped up, especially in the later rounds, they start letting it go a little bit more, and they start allowing a little more physical contact. And he doesn't have to worry about fouling out of every game, being able to be up onto the Joker and playing him as tough as he can.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think that's the way it should be. I think you should sometimes you just got to let these guys play. Put the whistle in the pocket and let these guys play, man. And I'm glad that they're doing that. And it's cool for us as fans to see these guys try to compete their ass off and win the game.
Yeah. That game had so many different runs and had me in so many different emotions. Really good start for Miami. Then Denver goes on a run. Really good run by Miami. Denver matches it. It goes back and forth. As it's going into the fourth quarter, Denver's up by 8. And they got the home crowd really pumped up. Jokic had just a phenomenal end to that third quarter. He was playing tough. He was going to the hoop. He was getting layups. He was really being dominant. And I thought, wow, what is Miami going to do? How are they going to change the momentum that Denver had going into that fourth? Whatever was said in that timeout, in that time between the third and the fourth quarter, Miami came out and just took it to them immediately. They turned that 8-point deficit into a 9-point advantage within about 2-3 minutes. And it was just spectacular how they changed their philosophy. They changed whatever they were doing offensively, defensively as well, and just turned the whole entire game around in that time. Denver did go on a run late to almost, tie it with if Murray doesn't miss that 3-pointer, we're going into overtime, it looks like. But Miami just was able to do something in that timeout between the third and the fourth to change that whole entire game.
Yes. And I think I want to say, I believe they zoned up. They did that. They mixed up their zone coverages in the fourth. And then that kind of threw Denver off a bit. But more importantly, was Miami's shooting was red hot all of a sudden. They got hot from 3. And, they've just been their shooting has been amazing behind the 3 line. It's been absolutely amazing. And hopefully that continues their hot shooting because that's definitely what saved them in game 2.
Duncan Robinson joined into the party, and he not only hit a couple threes, but he also drove to the hoop on a couple of occasions when they were covering him out deep, and that really seemed to spark them, really gave them some good momentum, and showed that he's still a factor, and you got to cover him deep and into the paint too. Miami has won 4 games in this playoffs, down by 8 points or more going into the fourth quarter. They're 4-5 in those scenarios in this playoffs. In the rest of the NBA, the entire league combined, 1-41 in those scenarios. So Miami has shown a toughness and a resiliency and an ability to come back that nobody else in the league has been able to do in this postseason.
Yeah, and I think you can attribute that to what they always say, the Heat culture. I think the Heat culture breeds that toughness, that resiliency. Just the fact that in your heart of hearts that you can come back, you have the ability to come back, and you believe, you have that sincere belief that you can come back. And they've demonstrated it time and time again in this playoff run.
One of the things that I noticed that the zone defense does is it seems to put in a lot of hesitation on Denver's part. They don't attack their offense the same way. And I noticed that I saw a statistic that said that their possessions were at least 3 seconds longer when Miami employed that zone defense than when they were just going man-to-man. And I think that seems to change maybe the initial call as they're going up the court. They come upon what they were originally planning to do and then realize, oh, it stopped here, shut off there, no outlet pass here. Uh-oh, now what am I going to do? And then they start having to try to figure it out. When Miami just has the man-to-man, they're coming up the court. Michael Malone calls in the play. They execute it. But with that zone, it seems to just change everything for Denver's offense.
Yeah, and what the zone does is it changes the pacing of the game, slows it completely down. And I think when the game is slowed down, that's to the Heat's advantage. And I think it's always going to be to the Heat's advantage.
I think the Heat love it slow, want it slow, and I think Denver wants it quick. And so it is definitely to Miami's advantage when they're doing that. Won't they be able to dictate the pace of play for the most part in Miami?
I think so. But I think also too, because you're dealing with like two of the top tier coaches, obviously in the NBA with Michael Malone and Spoelstra. I think Mike Malone will be like, all right, we're just gonna have to push the pace a little more and for the next game. So I think they'll be looking to do fast transition breaks, and I think he's probably going to tell Jokers you have your wings running, because as soon as you run, Joker's going to hit you. We're gonna move it fast. We're gonna move the ball fast and try to get some easy transition layups. And I think they'll try to speed it up too. More importantly, in the second half, so they can try to get easy buckets.
You mentioned Kevin Love earlier. He's another guy that's very good on those transition passes. He's just one of the best in the game, and I think that really opened up such an element for Miami. They were able to get some easy buckets. They were able to get running out on the floor and at least get the ball into the offensive end of the court, and not necessarily immediately shoot, but at least start planning it instead of doing it as they were dribbling the ball up the court.
Yeah, for sure. Once they do that and just going down the court like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for Game 3. It's kind of good that there are these 2-day breaks in between the games. I think it's good for Miami. I thought Miami was quite tired going into that first game, coming off a long, drawn-out 7-game series. Denver was sitting there for 9 days rest after their sweep of the Lakers, and I think Miami looked a lot fresher to me. Looked like they had the full complement. I was disappointed Tyler Hero wasn't ready, but it sure looks like he's on the verge of coming back. and it'll be nice to see if he's able to knock down a few shots. I think it's going to be such a huge injection for them. I can't imagine how much the crowd is going to be supportive of him if he makes it back.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be kind of, they're really going to have to manage his minutes because like they've been doing this without him for a long time. So they're going to have to find a way so that he can organically join in with the team since he hasn't been with them for a while. And so, because they don't want to mess up the chemistry that they've already had, like during this run, right? So, I think Spoelstra will probably do that the right way. Like when he can play, when he's available to play, they'll put him in, but not force the issue. You know what I mean? Like where they'll put him in, see what he can do. But I don't foresee him playing many big minutes right away. Right. Because of the fact of what they already have as a chemistry with the units and the guys that they have. And then also I wanted to say about like the legs that the Heat managed to find in game 2. I think part of it is they got used to the altitude in Denver. Like game 1 is just like that sucked and that's rough. And now in game 2, they're like, all right, we played the game already. We're used to it. We've been here for a while. Now we can go. Good
point. Yeah, I think you're accurate on that. Charles Barkley doesn't think that the altitude is a real thing, but I think most of the rest of the world really realizes that it is.
Yeah. You know what, Chuck? He's not playing anymore, right? Like, and he's quite a big man. You know, he really enjoys his food. So I can see where Chuck is coming from because he's just like, well, you know, and I'm like, well, you're not playing here anymore. And then also too, like you're living your best life. So, and plus on top of that, with your new deal, you're eating really, really well. So yes, of course you wouldn't think that the altitude would have no effect on you, but no, that's a real thing.
Yeah. I like his point though, where he says the biggest factor why he doesn't think that they have such an advantage is they have no championships. They haven't won it all. So what do you mean? If they would have won like 10 championships, yeah, I'd be like, oh yeah, they got a huge advantage. Have they got any? No, they got none, just like me. So you can't say they have such a huge advantage. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, I guess you could look at it like that. Yes, you could. But also, too, you could look at it like, well, has Denver ever had like a championship team of this magnitude now? No. Since they're here in the finals. Have they ever had a team as good as this? You could argue, I don't think so.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to game 3. I'm glad it became a series. It would have really sucked for TV ratings, for a lot of the NBA popularity. If Denver just blows them out those first 2 games, I think everybody would have been like, this is no good. I'm not really thinking this is a very competitive series. And now it's 1-1 heading back to Miami. I think we should see a very big uptick in TV numbers. They're going to be down because these aren't huge television markets anyway, but I'm glad that it's competitive.
Yeah, well, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see blowout after blowout. That's awful. It's not great basketball to watch. As long as the teams are playing and it's like extremely competitive and it's great basketball to watch, that's all I care about. That's all I care about. I want to be entertained. I don't want to be seeing blowouts. I want to see close basketball matches coming down the wire or possibly even going to overtime. That's exciting.
So we've been playing musical chairs with NBA coaching vacancies, and at least 4 guys have sat down in a chair. There's still some chairs left empty, but what do you think of the new head coaching hires? Adrian Griffin to the Bucks, leaving the Raptors. Nick Nurse leaving the Raptors for Philly. Frank Vogel, now the head guy in Phoenix, and Monty Williams going to Detroit. All very interesting moves in their own regard, and it really shakes up a lot of those top teams. Monty, leaving a top team, going for Detroit, not the greatest, move from the penthouse to the outhouse, but hopefully he can turn things around there. But what'd you think of all these moves?
I thought, for all the teams, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. They needed a change. I was really happy for Monty Williams, even though he went from Phoenix to Detroit. I think he'll do well with the young players. And on top of that, I believe he's now the highest paid coach in the NBA with his new contract. So congratulations. Good for you. And you know what? He's going to need all that money because he's going to go through a lot of tough times there at Detroit for a long time. So yeah, that's why he's staying.
Yeah, over 13 million a year for a head coach. That's awesome. I'm glad he set the bar that high, and I'm glad these guys are going to start getting this kind of money because imagine trying to tell players that are making 40, 50, 60 million dollars a year and you're making $5 what to do. It's got to be a little bit tough, you know. They're like, "Oh, who the hell are you, man? And you're making 1/10 of the money I'm making? Shut the hell up."
Yeah, I know, right? But you know what? At the end of the day, the head coach also hopefully has the respect of the players, right? Because once you lose the respect of the players or you lose the locker room, well, then the time is ticking until you're fired. So that's a very important thing. They need to have the respect of the players, and the players need to respect them so that they listen to what they have to say and then, you know, find success together because you're not going to find it apart.
So, okay, let's shift our focus to the UFC. We have a unique week here because the UFC is coming to our town. We are on the cusp of seeing the UFC return for the first time in 4 years, and north of the border here, coming into Vancouver. We are. It's exciting. It's always great that they will come here. Nice to see Canadian fighters getting some really good attention for being on the cards. There will be a lot of media locally here in Canada focusing in on the Canadians and stuff. We have a definitely a card. You and I have been talking about it for quite a while that doesn't have a lot of star power, doesn't have a lot of like, wow, I can't wait to see this fight, and a little disappointing. It has been receiving blows, has canceled fights. We just lost another fight today, I hear, off the card. Chris Daukaus will not be able to fight.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Oh, no, I was going to say, Chris Daukaus and Khalil Roundtree.
Yeah. That fight is gone now from the card. So disappointing news that some fights have fallen off this card. They lost, one of the girls that was supposed to fight in the main event a few weeks back, and Irene Aldana is now taking her place. But I do have some excitement that it's coming here. I'm glad we get to see some local fighting. I'm glad, the Vancouver people, BC residents, and people, from probably the interior and all over coming here. But disappointing that this isn't a card that, is it one of those can't miss cards like the UFC puts on quite frequently.
Yeah, no, it's not one of those cards. Unfortunately, it's not one of those cards. And it's, as we've talked about before, the tickets are quite expensive to go to this one. And if it was more of a fan-friendly card set up with a bunch of big fights, then I could understand the cost of the tickets. But since it's not like that, and on top of that, we've lost some really good fights on this card. It's painful. It's painful.
Yeah.
But at least though, we do have a championship fight that's come here, and so that's a good thing. That's good.
Yeah, you're right. We got to see the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes. The Lioness is returning. She defends her belt against Irene Aldana, an up-and-comer that is trying to get a belt for Mexico, or who already has a few champions, and be a pretty incredible upset. But she definitely has a chance. I'm looking forward to Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. I think that is fight of the night material, and seems to be the one that's I'm focusing on the most to be the most exciting.
Yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Styles make fights. Beneil Dariush brings it all the time, and so does Oliveira. Oliveira is incredibly resilient. When you think you have him out, that's when he's actually the most dangerous. So that's going to be a great fight. That's a fight that I'm most certainly looking forward to watching.
I really like Mike Malott and what he brings, Canadian, and I think he has a potential to rise up high in the ranks in his career, and if not, challenge for a belt at some point. He is somebody that I want Canadian mixed martial arts fans and fans of sport alone to focus in on, make aware of him and what he's bringing. I think this guy has a really good future ahead.
Yeah, I think he does have a very good future. He's very good. He's still very early, obviously, in his UFC career, but he has potential for sure. And this is a big spotlight being shone on him because I think he's third in the main cards, and that's a big deal. It's a big spot. Yeah. A lot of limelight on.
And I get to hopefully shake Dan Igue's hand after this, after he dispatches Nate Landwehr, one of the guys that I really dislike in the UFC. I really hope he can send him into retirement, sleep him early, and hopefully we don't see much of Nate Landwehr after a huge KO by the Dan Ige 50K man.
50K. He's got that nickname for a reason. I still think he's going to be in tough against Landwehr. Landwehr's not an easy opponent, so I expect a lot of fireworks, but it could be a quick night for one of those two guys.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we switch to this past Saturday's card? We had a card taking place in the Apex UFC 74. The main event had two of the top-ranked flyweights in the world. Number 3, Kai Kara-France against number 7, Amir Albazi. And this was, unfortunately, a robbery. This cost Kai Kara-France $100,000 because he should have had the victory, and it was taken away from some poor judging, in my opinion. And Kai Kara-France has to go back and regroup and figure out where he goes next, even though him and most of the world thought he won. Albazi gets the victory in a controversial split decision. What was your thinking on how this fight played out?
Okay, so first off, I thought the bulk of this fight was on its feet, right? It was in the stand-up department. And so if the bulk of the fight is in the stand-up department, and I thought that Kai Kara-France was clearly the one that was winning in that scope of the fight, then how did he lose? That was my question. I'm like, well, if he was the bulk of the fight was clearly on its feet, there was parts that were obviously on the mat, but the bulk of it was on its feet. And he outstruck Albazi by more than double in efficiency, in accuracy of strikes, in significant strikes. But he lost? So I don't understand, how did he lose then? Because I thought, okay, maybe Albazi won the round 3, maybe round 2. I didn't have a winning that many rounds at all. So I'm just I don't know how he won this fight.
Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating for me and for many involved. You're right. This took place on the feet for the most part. Albazi was credited with 1 out of 9 takedown attempts. He only landed 1 takedown. That third round, he won it. He really had a chance to get that rear naked choke sunk in. It was, in a way, Kai Kara-France was a bit, I wouldn't say lucky, but he was, fortunate that he wasn't submitted in that, exchange. And he was able to get out of it. But for the rest of the fight, he dominated on the feet. He outstruck him every round. I've got the numbers here. First round, he outstruck him 13-6. Second, 16-11. Third round, he even outstruck him 9-3. Fourth round, 27-5 were the strikes counted. And in the fifth round, 34-18. So, yeah, dominating performance, especially those last two rounds.
Yes.
Unfortunately, one of the judges, Chris Lee, ended up giving the fourth round to Albazi. And that is just, everyone is shaking their head, stunned that he would see it that way. Nobody saw that round. The other two judges saw the round for Kai Kara-France. Somehow Chris Lee gave that fourth round to Albazi, and that changed the fortunes of the entire card, entire fight. As I said, Kai Kara-France lost $100,000 because of this decision and the potential to be the next in line for a championship fight. The next fight that's for the belt in this division, the flyweight division, is Brandon Moreno, Alex Pantoja, July 8th in Vegas. And Albazi called out the winner of that one, rightly so, because he might be up into that third rank as of today, and he might get that chance. But now Kai Kara-France has to go back $100,000 poorer and try to figure out where he goes from here, where the UFC is going to place him, and how his career is going out. This isn't just a little mistake that a guy makes, giving a round to a guy that nobody else did. They pulled the 21 media members that were cage side for this fight. They pulled them and they asked them if they could disclose their judging and their results. So out of the 21, 19 had Kai Kara-France winning. 9 had it scored 48-47 for France. 10 had it 49-46 for France. And only two media members locally there had it for Albazi 48-47. This is something we've talked about at length quite a bit in these podcasts, but this is one that really upsets me because it's changing a guy's fortunes. I know it cost him $100,000 this night, but it probably costs him millions of dollars if he has to wait another year or two to get a championship opportunity, or maybe he never ever does get another shot at it. It's life changing. It's something that I don't think we can rely on 3 judges anymore like this. I think they've got to change the system somehow to make this better. And we don't have this kind of thing happening where it can ruin a guy's career.
Yeah, because like it just radically changes your career trajectory, right? Like, and that was what this fight was. It's like one man will rise and the other will fall, right? And the fact that you didn't get it right is it's egregious. It's bad, because I definitely had Kara-France winning the 4th and 5th rounds. Like, it's like, I don't know. I watched the fight. I watched the fight, and it was pretty clear to me that Albazi did not win that round for him. Like, it was clear as day. So I point to the fact that I think you need judges that have maybe participated in mixed martial arts. I think you need judges that aren't coming from a boxing background and then they try to apply boxing to mixed martial arts. That doesn't work. Clearly doesn't work. So I think eventually, hopefully at some point in time, like, you'll just get guys that actually have experience in the sport that they're judging, so that they know what they're looking at.
Yeah, it should be that. There should be a lot of criteria. It should be very, very, very strict rules for you to be a judge. Some of these guys are, long-term judges, but obviously they're making mistakes, and it's not acceptable. Maybe they have to up it to 5 judges. Maybe they have to do what some of the other sports do when they have, 5, 6, 7 judges. They eliminate the most egregious scores on the 2 ends and, side with the ones in the middle. Maybe it's 5 judges, and they do throw out 2 of the, the scores that are so far apart. Or maybe they just go with 5 judges and, the majority wins. 3, 3 side with this, 2 side with that. I don't know, but we just can't continue to accept something that's flawed, so flawed. And we shouldn't be talking about judging when we discuss fight cards. We should be just talking about the fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, this judging fiasco has taken away from an excellent fight. And we should be focusing more on the fight than on the judging, because the judging was just so wrong. Like I'm going to be honest, I was surprised it even went to a split decision, because I was just like, why? Split what? What are you talking about? Yeah.
So I saw Kai Kara-France speak a little bit, and he said, I guess I don't know what to do with this, but I'm just going to hope that I'm on the next card that's in Australia in September. They're having a fight card out of Sydney. He said it'll be nice to fight locally and not have to travel so far. And let's hope that this doesn't take too long for him to get back up there, because I love watching him fight. He's a great fighter. He's very elite. The fighters that come out of that city kickboxing camp already have belts, and he deserves a shot at to be getting a chance at the champion, and to not be there, I feel really sick about it for him. But let's hope that this wrong can be righted quite soon, and he's not too far down the road in the mix for a shot again.
Exactly. Like I hope he doesn't fall down too far down the rankings, as he shouldn't. He shouldn't. Yeah. And also too, I hope that the UFC makes good, gives him another top 5 opponent, so he can be right back in the mix again quickly. So I think that would be the right thing for the UFC to do, because he got robbed. He got robbed.
Yeah. This fight definitely, this fight card really wasn't stacked, didn't have a huge amount of, what we want to, are super excited for and looking forward to. We get to talk about 2 original gangsters, 2 guys that have been in the sport for really long. The only 2 fighters in UFC history that have more than 40 or more fights in the UFC. We get to talk about them. But why don't we focus in on the co-main event, which won fight of the night? Alex Caceres and Daniel the Pit Pineda. Bruce Leeroy brought his crazy unorthodox style and really grinded out an exciting win. They both got $50K for their troubles. Daniel Pineda has a sore liver today, and probably will have a sore liver for weeks to come. He was able to even overcome that somehow and continue fighting, because Caceres did grind out a great win. And this was a fun fight to watch. Definitely one of my fights of the year. And I'm glad they did get performance of the night.
As they should, because that was a fantastic fight. It was a fantastic fight. They fought each other on every level. I believe Pineda almost had Caceres out of there with a deep armbar, and somehow Caceres managed to get out of it. he managed to wiggle out of that. I'm like, oh, fight's over. And I'm like, or it's not. I couldn't believe that he got out of that armbar, because that was in deep. That was impressive. Impressive defense on the armbar submission. And then also too, Caceres with just his creativity on his feet. Whenever he strikes, it's always something to watch. But those liver shots, him going to the body, him putting money in the bank, so to speak. And then in the 3rd round, where he landed that massive kick to body shot, and then he goes, oh, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, so it's over. And Pineda, tough as nails. Like anybody else would be like, done. I'm done. He took, I think, after that kick in the beginning of the 3rd round, I want to say 5 or 6 or 7 more shots to that side of liver. And every time it's like, okay, all right. He's still hung in there. So I give him that. I'll give him that. He definitely earned the bonus just with that, right there. Just with that.
Yeah, he sure did. And, I that's one of the reasons why I love this sport, is you get to see the toughness shown on a weekly basis. And, that, no, we're not the same toughness level as these guys. And you got to give them props because it's incredible what they can overcome. Caceres, you know, easily could have just tapped very quickly. As soon as that gets in secured, that's it. Okay, I'm not getting my arm broken. I saw a girl get her knee broken earlier in the fight here on the card. Okay, I'm going to live to fight another day, but he somehow comes through and gets out of it. And Pineda, you know, takes the shot that would have taken down 99% of the men in the world. But the guys in the UFC just somehow can overcome it, use the adrenaline, use the toughness, ability, and keep going. You know, good on him. Caceres, though, I'm really impressed with him. He's a ranked fighter, top 15 going into this, probably stays, you know, around in that position. But he's been really starting to become, to me, one of the best featherweights out there. Even though he's ranked down there in 15, you know, he's been really winning a lot of very, very tough fights. And that style that he employs is going to be a hard fight for most of the guys in the division.
I think it's going to be a hard fight for anybody in the division because Pineda is an excellent grappler. And he still had he had to really fight to get Caceres down to the mat. And then even when he did get him down to the mat, Caceres was able to pop back up most times. So he wasn't able to keep him down there for long. So Caceres is going to be a tough matchup for anybody in the featherweight division. And just with his wealth of experience in the octagon, like that's just going to serve him well for his next couple of fights. But he's the one thing you can always say about Caceres, always exciting to watch. Always exciting.
Yeah. No, I love what he brings. And yeah, can't wait to see him fight again. Good for him. He's really had a resurgence to his career recently, and it's been fun to watch. Okay, I mentioned 50K for both those guys. Also 50K for 23 seconds of action for one of those original gangsters, Jim Miller. He's got all these records, most fights ever in the UFC, most submissions, most this, most that. But he sets his own personal record for the fastest finish in those 42 UFC fights. And this was one of those spectacular knockouts that you see Butler's just sleeping on his feet, just immediately just looking like, okay, I think it's time for a nap. And he's out quick. It was an impressive KO for Jim Miller that's not known for knocking guys out all the time.
No, he's not known for that. But it's funny that in his now later years in the UFC, he's got more knockouts. It's almost as if he goes, you know what, I'm old. I don't really want to do this too long, so I'm just going to try to get this guy out of here real quick. Yeah. I'll give Butler credit. He did take this fight on, what did Jim Miller say in post? In 2 days' notice. 2 days, yeah. 2 days. So I'll give him a little bit. I'll give him a little bit of leeway. But, man, when Miller hit him with that first left hook, he didn't need to hit him with the second. Right? No. He hit him with the first, and he was already out cold. And then he hit him with another second on his way down where he's like, oh, okay, well, anyways, it's already done. And then he walked away. Now, the ref is running at him, but he's like, no, man, it's cool. It's done.
My God. Yeah. Mergliata was a little bit far away to get in there before that second shot that was unnecessary hit. But you just never know, I guess, and especially when your adrenaline's pumping, you land that hook, you see the guy go down, your immediate instinct is just to try to finish him off. And got one shot in, and then he realized, no, this guy's already asleep. Time to walk away. And Mergliata went to try to throw him off, and then said, okay, I guess he's already leaving the scene here. Okay, I better check on how Jesse Butler's doing, and that was it. But yeah, that was a awesome performance. There's not really much that Jim Miller hasn't done in the UFC in his mixed martial arts career. He said he does want to get a Kimura finish. He said he was that was his go-to move in the gym for many, many, many years, and he's never got one. And he also wants to fight on UFC 300 because he's fought on UFC 100 and 200, and he wants to fight on the legendary UFC 300. So with performances like this, I'm sure the UFC is going to make that happen, and we will see him in the cage. I guess what do we got? Another 11. So we're probably talking mid next year. We're going to see Jim Miller fight in UFC 300.
Now, here's a question for you. Do you think if he makes it to UFC 300, which we all believe he will, he retires on UFC 300?
I believe he will. Yeah, I think that'll be it. Yeah.
Me too.
For what will you be, about 40 something years old? And yeah, it'd be about 40s. And yeah, I think that'll be a great way to end it. Yeah, perfect way, especially if he gets a big win. That would be just poetic.
Exactly. And that's what I think that's what he's foreseen for himself, where he's like, I'm going to get to UFC 300, then I'm going to call it a night. And I think it's poetic justice for Jim Miller for that longevity, the length that he's fought for, and the fact that he's, he'll still have all his cognitive functions. He'll probably have bumps and bruises that, might not go away for quite some time. But as long as he's sound of mind up here, everything's good.
Yeah. And Jesse Butler's is no joke. He came in, UFC debut, but he was on a fight win streak coming in. I think he'll be disappointed this week, but he'll learn. You can't jump in on a guy and leave your hands down a little bit. He'll learn a valuable lesson on this one, and I think the UFC is going to give him definitely more opportunities because they really like it when somebody will answer the bell with a couple days notice.
Yeah. He's definitely going to get more opportunity for sure because, 2 days is not a proper fight camp. Okay? It's not. So, yeah, I think he's going to definitely get more shots in the UFC because at the end of the day, he did them a favor, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully he wasn't just eating chips and hanging out and watching the NBA finals, NHL finals, and not doing a lot before that week. I hope he was actually working in the gym, even though he wasn't in the camp. I hope he wasn't just right off the couch.
He looked like he was pretty good shape. I don't think he had like the 2 liter of like Pepsi just on the couch going, oh, is that UFC? Oh, man. Okay, I'm leaving now. I'm jumping in the car. It's going to take me a day and a half to drive. I'll be there.
I can't wait to see somebody release that kind of a video where they're chugging a 2 liter and then they pull their phone up and they see it says UFC Dana White and they're like, oh, hello. Hang on a second. Choke. Yeah, what do you need? Fight? Oh, 2 days? Okay. I can't wait to see a video like that posted on YouTube. It's going to make my day.
Yeah, and then the guy goes, by the way, it's got to be a catch weight. I'm not going to make weight.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, we should try to, put cameras in some of these guys' homes and just say, next time the UFC calls, film it. We want to see your reaction and how the conversation goes. That'll be good. Because, some guys do immediately say catch weight. I can't make that weight right now.
Oh, yeah, of course. And especially, what that makes sense. He called me the fight's in 2 days. So I don't think I can do it. He's like, I think I can do it. I'm sorry. So, yeah. Catch weight is that if catch weights happen in those scenarios, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, another flyweight fight. The main event was a flyweight battle. They also had another flyweight fight on the card. Tim Elliott fought Victor Altamirano, and this was a great fight, I thought. Tim Elliott didn't like his performance, but he did get the decision victory in a really tough battle.
Yeah, and Elliott's grappling really showed through here. He was by far and away the better grappler. He's so creative and different when he does his grappling and his scrambles and stuff. Like he fights differently. And it's very hard if you're his opponent, if you're training for a guy like that, to have somebody try to emulate his style, because his style is like he was basically doing like, I don't know what that was, like the moonwalk, or he was shuffling backwards the entire time, like he was like running backwards, and you're just like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's so unorthodox. Yeah, I thought that too with Caceres and him being on the same card, on the same main card. It was interesting because they both have such tough styles to try to figure out, and you really want to find training partners that can emulate guys, but how are you going to with these type of fighters?
Nah, exactly. Like, and especially with Tim Elliott, I'm sorry, man. You're not finding a guy that goes, I can't fight like that, man. I'm sorry. I don't even know what he's doing most of the time, right? So, but at the same time, that's what's tough about him too, because he can make that work for him. It's just super unorthodox, where you're just like, okay, I don't know when he's going to attack me. I don't know when the attack is coming, and when it does come, I have no idea what he's going to attack me with, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, though, his grappling was super on point, and he dominated that aspect of that in the fight, which won in the fight.
He got his 58th career takedown and 5 in this fight, and that tied the illustrious Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. And I was really happy to see DJ's name come up again, and he doesn't have to relinquish the record. He gets to keep the record tied for now, and it was pretty cool to see that Elliott's been around that long to be able to tie a record. That's prestigious. DJ, one of the best fighters of all time.
Yeah, one of the best fighters of all time. Very odd that the UFC never brings up his name, really. It's almost like they edited him out of history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just like, here's the eraser. Yeah, he's never existed, never fought for the organization. So, but for him to match such a record with that guy at that caliber, that's a great honor for Elliott, and it's a great accomplishment for Elliott.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah, very great. Okay, there's another flyweight fight on this main card, but this time it was women, an all Brazilian matchup, and this was crazy because I mean, we talked about it earlier. This was one of the toughest submissions that you're ever gonna see. Where I think there's surgery going to have to be involved in the knee that went sideways, a way that a knee's never supposed to go. And you didn't see it happening until it was too late. And it was a little sickening, but a big win for Karine Silva. And it really was able to secure and get that submission where I didn't see it ending that way. I thought there was going to be a tap probably, but I didn't see the knee moving in that direction. And then it was just too late.
Yeah. Like I thought the submission was going to go a different way, to be honest with you. Like I didn't foresee that she would use, I think she basically used her own leg as a fulcrum so that she could take her opponent's leg and move it sideways like that. But when you saw it in slow motion, then I was just like, okay, it kind of made me a little sick. I'm like, oh, yeah. And I felt really bad for Souza because I'm like, well, you're out for like 9 months. Like you're out for, like, it's going to take that long for your recovery and then your rehab and all that sort of stuff. So I felt really bad for her. And the fact that there was no way that she could tap fast enough. It was just going to happen that way. That's it.
Yeah. It wasn't anything she did wrong. I didn't see an opportunity for her to tap sooner. I think if she tapped sooner, I think she would have got criticized by her team and probably by the people cage side, because it didn't look like it was dangerous at that moment. It looked like, she was trying for Achilles heel hook type of a thing, but it didn't look like it was secured enough to be something that you would tap for. So all of a sudden, when that other leg came up and put the pressure on the knee, boom, it just happened so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Because like she modified it where she's just like, well, what if I just do this? And then you're just like, oh, she's like, ooh. Like even as the one that won, I'd be like, oh, Sorry about that. Yeah, that's actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I win.
Yeah, that was too bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And it was only the 5th leg lock submission history in the women's UFC in all divisions, only the 5th leg lock. And Caitlin Souza, she's a former Invicta FC flyweight champ, making her UFC debut, but from all accounts, really came in as a high level prospect, and she will not fight again this year for sure. But I hope she can recover, fight early next year, and come back from this knee injury that's definitely going to be very serious.
No, yeah, definitely going to be very serious, and I hope that she doesn't try to rush herself back, because she will do herself no favors if she does that. She needs to It's clearly a very serious knee injury. Take your time, take as much time as you need, come back strong. But do not try to run back from an injury of that magnitude. You can't do
that. Okay, let's talk about the welterweight fight between Zaleski dos Santos and Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov is Khabib's cousin. Khabib, famous for being one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time and longtime champion who retired. But Dos Santos, man, he came on later on in this fight and just looked great. This was a very, very fun fight to watch. I loved how highly skilled and competitive it was. I was thinking maybe Nurmagomedov pulled off the decision in the end, sort of when it went to the judges. I thought, maybe my nod was to Abubakar, but Zaleski ended up getting it. And I think he was a bit shocked when he got his hand raised. I don't know if he thought he won, but anyway, tough fight, good, but a really good fight.
Yeah, tough fight, really good fight. I thought like you, I thought Nurmagomedov was going to get the nod because of his control along the fence, his grappling and his control along the fence, and the way that the fight was going. Obviously, Dos Santos really came on in the third. And I guess what the judges were looking for in this fight was who was doing more damage. And Nurmagomedov's control was more of control, less damage. But then when they were split apart and they were actually on their feet striking, Dos Santos seemed to get the better of him within those exchanges. So, great win by Dos Santos. And then Nurmagomedov is just, I think he's going to have to tweak things where he's going to have to involve more striking within his grappling to ensure that he's doing damage as he's doing that and trying to advance his position. Yeah,
you're accurate, right? Yeah, it was a split decision. One guy gave it to Abubakar, but two guys gave it to Santos, and he gets his arm raised. It wasn't as egregious as that main fight of the night, but I think Abubakar could have easily got his hand raised. But I think you're right. If he can get a little better, more damage in that stand-up, he definitely wins the fight and gets his hand raised. Let's go to the prelims. We also have a Santos in the feature fight on the prelims. Daniel Santos ends up pulling out a decision over Johnny Munoz. And tell me what you thought of this one.
Anytime guys always pull guard, I don't like it, because like you're already putting yourself in a disadvantage because you're battling from the bottom. Unless
why be in a compromised position all the time like that? It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't look good for the judges, because the judges just like, well, okay, well, what are you going to do here? Unless you are literally one of the top tier best at doing that, where you can switch it around, or you can grab, or you can get the guy in a submission very quickly. It's just very disadvantageous to you. Yes, Munoz almost, I think he went from an arm bar to a triangle in the first round, but I think that's literally as close as he got to a submission within the entirety of the fight. And like that. And he kept going back to the well, but then Santos was clearly, like, he knew what he was trying to do, so he was able to fight it off but he was always in the top position, raining down ground and pound. Yeah. And so with that, that's why he won the fight, because you kept pulling him into his guard, and then he just kept punching you in the face. So that's not a recipe to win.
I'm surprised that that is where Munoz wants to go all the time, because Johnny Munoz's dad was a boxing coach, and he had a gym at their home. And Johnny Munoz, when he looked out his bedroom window, he could see the garage where his dad coached boxing. And he started boxing and fighting mixed martial arts from 5 years old on. Johnny Munoz's dad was the boxing coach for Tito Ortiz and Rampage Jackson when Munoz was a kid. And I would have thought that seeing, those striking legends and his dad, mostly coaching boxing, he would be able to be, as good on his feet as on the ground. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you'd think that his striking would be just on par.
Yeah, you would think that, especially with what you just said, but it was almost as if, well, he clearly believes that his jiu-jitsu is where he's going to win his fights. That's what he clearly believes. But just the way that he goes about doing it, I'm sorry, man. Pulling guard is just, I just don't believe that's a very good offensive move for you. Because if it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. And then you've put yourself at a severe disadvantage.
The other thing that was tough about this fight was there was an immediate groin strike, like seconds into the fight, and it was a bad one. It was a bad one. And I think that definitely would have compromised Munoz too. He got hurt real bad. That was a tough shot.
Yeah, that was all shin, literally to groin. And when he went down like that, I was like, he might not be able to continue. I honestly thought that this might be the end of the fight. And there's no shame in that, by the way. If you get a groin strike, that's just like, oh yeah, that's it, man. This is not happening, because I think he broke one of them. That's over. It's over. And there's no shame. So I was more impressed that he did continue on. And then I think there was more groin strikes on both ends. It kind of got a little bit chippy or dirty there, but you know what? Great win by Santos at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, Herb Dean ended up taking a point away from Santos because of a low blow later on. He ended up 30. It was supposed to be 30-27 because they gave Santos all 3 rounds. It ended up 29-27 because that last round was only a 9-9 score. But it was not a great showing for Munoz. He's going to have to employ a better strategy. Instead of trying to pull guard and being on bottom, he's got to be the one on top. He took way too much damage from those grounded pound strikes from Santos. And Santos deserved the win wholeheartedly for sure. Okay, heavyweight battle. We had Andre Arlovsky, another guy that's an original big-time gangster from way back. This was his 40th UFC appearance. He has really changed his style and changed his game, and being able to be so much more lighter on his feet, getting a lot of victories over the past couple years. But he finally got caught in this one, and Don'Tale Mayes took the KO victory halfway through the second round, and it just it didn't turn out to be a great night for Andre, one of the legends of the sport.
It was looking like it was going to be a great night because his in and out movement was great. He was popping the jab. He was managing the distance well between the two until he kind of got lulled to sleep. And Don'Tale had, I think he hit him with the right hook, but from below. So he probably overhand. Big overhand. So he probably didn't really see the trajectory of the punch. And he just got caught, and he got dropped. And then Mayes did a little bit of ground and pound, and then the ref jumped in. Great win by Mayes. Too bad for Arlovsky because that's the way he fights now. And it would have worked. I think he was well on his way to a victory if he didn't get caught.
Yeah, you're right. His footwork was fantastic. He was landing the shots and then getting out of range, and I'm really impressed with his footwork in the past couple of years. He's been really able to stay out of the way of damage most of the time, but once he got hit with that overhand right, and then some hammer fist, Mark Smith comes in and ends it, and that's it. All she wrote. But we'll see Arlovsky again. The guy's been involved in it's 60. That was his 68th fight. Yeah, so I think he's far from done, and we'll see him again. Okay, tell me about the John Castaneda decision. He fought this new Tajikistan fighter, and he was a late replacement fighter. He only had a few days' notice to come in and get this opportunity. What I really think about when I think about this fight is how they showed Tajikistan, and they showed 4:30 in the morning, a full soccer stadium of fans supporting two fighters from their country making their appearance on this card. One was happy, one was not. This was the one that lost the decision to Castaneda.
Yeah, but a great fight. Great fight. It was very close. It was engaging. I thought the difference was that Gusparov was throwing everything at him, like everything. Full power hooks and strikes for, I want to say, a good 2.5 rounds until he finally started to lose steam. I thought that Castaneda was in the onslaught that Gusparov kept coming at him, was able to do sharper counters, and his striking was more technically sound than Gusparov's. And I thought that was a very telling difference with in this fight.
Yeah, you're right, for sure. I couldn't believe the assault that Gafurov was putting on him. He was just coming and coming and coming and bringing a lot of strikes, but they were just way too many hooks, way too, not enough straight punches that were landing. And you're not going to be able to have that kind of volume without getting tired and gassing out, and that's what happened here. I could see that, being just following his countrymen, seeing his countrymen get a big upset right before him, and knowing that many people are supporting you, he really brought an incredible effort. He's just got to get a little bit better of technical striking, and I think he sees victories in the UFC for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think his striking just needs to be a little bit more, clean it up a little bit more technical, more efficient, more accurate. And then unfortunately in this fight, I believe he had a point taken away for leading with his head. Now, obviously, I think it was possibly incidental contact, but when you put your head like forward like that, you have to be in control of all your weapons at all times. I understood why he took the point away. Also, too, like it's also a message to all the other fighters. Like, if you do it like that, and it was bad, like you saw the instant replay, you're like, yeah, okay, he literally led with his head into the other guy's head. You do it like that, you should get a point stuff. Really
I agree. I agreed with it. It like you say, it wasn't incidental, but that caused a lot of damage to Castaneda, and it could really give a guy a concussion, and he shouldn't be penalized for that. It's an illegal strike. So you're right. His countrymen ended up getting $50K for his huge upset win over Jamie Malarkey in the fight right before this. He came in on a late replacement. Malarkey had an opponent. He was supposed to fight Kutsaladze, and Guram had to pull out. So they made the call and brought in Muhammad Naimov. Malarkey went from the biggest underdog on the card to the biggest favorite once the change was made. And he was really cruising along and looked like Malarkey was going to take this victory. And then Naimov was able to get a shot in, get this TKO and get the win and get $50K for his troubles too.
It was a perfect shot because he caught Malarkey when he was lowering his level to shoot. So Malarkey lowered his level to shoot. Nemov hit him with a perfect right hook, and then followed it up with a left hook, which dropped him, and then a ground and pound finish. Now Malarkey was calling out the ref, saying that was an early stoppage. He could still fight, but from what I saw when he tried to get up, well, he didn't get up very well. He didn't get up very well. So I was just like, no, you know what? If you can't get up straight off the bat and be like, hey, why did you stop it? But you can't get up, then that's a good stoppage because you're clearly wrong. So
yeah, he was compromised. It seemed like a little bit of an early stoppage to me too, but yeah, you're right. He did wobble when he got up, and he was clearly rocked. There was two very, very heavy shots landed before he went down.
Oh yeah. Like I said before, the timing on his hook was perfect, absolutely perfect, and he caught Malarkey coming in, and it was game over.
Yeah, that with Malarkey dropping and rushing in, taking that shot, and then dropping. Some hammer fists were coming, and I think a lot more would have been raining down on him. If Herb Dean doesn't come in and fight and stop that. What a debut performance, and amazing that Tajikistan is one of these MMA hotbeds, and these two guys making their debut coming in late notice, both of them, and one of them having highlight reel performance and getting the bonus, the other one fighting really, really well and giving a good performance. I think we're going to start seeing a pipeline of guys coming out of Tajikistan.
Yeah, well, that'd be cool. That'd be cool to see because they clearly have a fan base, like a big one at that.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of
4:30 in the morning going to a soccer stadium to watch this guy fight. That's dedication.
That's dedication, and that's knowing that your people got your back. So good on them. Good for both of them, and I think the UFC is better for having these guys in their organization now.
Okay, let's whip through this. Okay, when the decision was made in the women's strawweight fight between Elise Reed and Jinyu Fry, Elise Reed looked more shocked than I ever remember seeing a fighter look, thinking she had lost, and seeing her hand get raised was like, oh, are you kidding? I won? What? Okay, yeah. She was just stunned by the decision, and you usually can see them usually do a poker face, but this was not. She did not think she won, but she got her hand raised, and I didn't see the judges on this one, but maybe Chris Lee was involved in this one as well. I didn't pay attention to this fight that closely. I couldn't tell you that it was a robbery or anything. I just remember Elise looking shocked more than I've seen a MMA fighter in a long time.
Yeah. For me, there was kind of a reason because Fry she dominated the grappling. She absolutely dominated the grappling, but she didn't fight really in the round 3. She kind of took round 3 off. So when I saw that, I'm like, all right, but I thought she won. I honestly thought that Fry won rounds 1 and 2. So I'm like, all right. She won. I thought she won rounds 1 and 2 with her grappling. But then when the decision came down, I was like, did I miss something? I'm still wondering, did I actually miss something? I may have, because I know that Reed definitely won round 3 because Frey didn't do anything, right? But at the same time, I'm like, well, okay.
Weird.
Okay. Yeah. So great win by Reed. Wow, that was.
I have some notes here, and the thing that I wanted to talk about most about this fight was the referee Mark Smith, and when they made an announcement that Mark Smith actually was the pilot on the flight that flew in some of the announcers and some of the fighters. I had no idea that he was a pilot as well as one of the most prominent UFC refs, mixed martial arts refs in the world. And he was the pilot that flew in the broadcast team and a few of the people into Vegas for this event. Pretty incredible.
That's awesome, because could you imagine you're getting off the plane and you just go, "Hey, Mark Smith, why are you dressed like that? What are you doing?" Like, "Oh no, this is like my part-time job." Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I gotta do a little respect for this guy. I was like, "Whoa, okay, that takes a very special human being to be a pilot for commercial airline, and to be able to be doing that on the side. That's unbelievable. That's amazing."
Yeah, I think now some of the fighters will have a little bit more respect for Mark Smith. It's like, well, I'm not gonna piss that guy off because I might be on his plane. He might be like, "Oh shit, we're gonna know." Like, "Oh, hey man, you remember what you said? Remember what you said?" "Oh, I'm never doing that again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry."
Yeah, you got people's life in your hands. You probably are getting a lot more respect, and probably the trash talking will be a lot less for him going forward.
Oh yeah, I think so, because you don't know when he's going to be flying your plane. So.
Okay, tell me about the knockout victory by Damon Blackshear. Nice. That was Lacerda just kept going for leg locks, and Blackshear just rained down some massive shots and was able to pull out the victory here. First UFC win for Damon Blackshear, and the monster getting his hand raised. Very impressive win.
Very impressive win, but unfortunately, though, I missed this fight. I missed this fight, and I missed the other one. So I did not get the opportunity to watch these two fights.
Yeah, the fight was back and forth quite a bit. Lacerda just kept trying to get to the ground and going for leg locks, and Blackshear just ended up finding a way to just keep landing some massive shots. Was able to really daze Lacerda, and then Chris Tognoni came in and raised his hand, gave him the win, and it was impressive. Philip Leans, a good performance at light heavyweight. Good to see him knock out a cheating Russian and him in a decision. And that was what kicked off the fight. This was on the early prelims, and they weren't shown on TSN, but I was watching them live, so able to get a chance. The thing about Grishin that surprised me was Drago Volkov was in his corner, and I thought, whoa, you're fighting that guy in training camp. It's going to be pretty impressive being able to have him. And Leans was a heavyweight for so long, and he's come down to light heavyweight now. I wondered, if this was going to be a better weight class for him, and I think it is. I see an incredible speed advantage with the power still there.
Yeah, and that's probably more to the point for him coming down to light heavyweight. Obviously, he's going to have to put in more effort in his diet and everything else. But if you can, you're probably still going to be able to retain your power from heavyweight down to light heavyweight. That's a huge advantage for you. Massive advantage.
Yeah, so. It was good. Yeah. So that was, that was a okay card. I'm not going to put it up there in the upper echelon of this year, but there was a few good moments in that card. And the UFC returns to Vancouver this week. We here at Complete Sports Media are going to get a chance to go to the weigh-ins. We're going to get a chance to go to some meet and greets. We've got an invitation to go see George St. Pierre, and we're going to get a meet and greet with George St. Pierre. And we're going to get Jason hopefully at one of the press conferences so he can ask us questions. And hopefully we can come up with some tickets. We don't have tickets currently. We're working on a media pass, and it doesn't look likely. So hopefully something can come together, and Jason and I can go. Stefan wants to go. Scott wants to go. Everybody wants to go, but when the prices are this pricey, I don't see anyone really wanting to shell out, especially with a weekend card. But let's hope something comes together and we can all go and enjoy ourselves this week. I always like when the UFC is in town for the week. There's a lot of events going on, a lot of opportunities to get to see fighters, get to talk to fighters, and I hope we can get that chance.
I hope so. That would be nice. That would be great if everything comes together somehow, some way. That would be cool. But with the meet and greets and all that other good stuff, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be fantastic. Yeah. And with me asking my questions and then be asked to leave and then be escorted out, probably carried out by a bunch of security. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fantastic.
You should join me for the weigh-ins for sure, and whatever else. I'll send you a schedule. But what do you think? Are you going to be around on Friday for the weigh-ins? Should we meet down there?
Possibly. I might actually not be here, in the city. So I'll let you know. I'll know more on Thursday, and then we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. Cool. Okay, we talked a lot about the UFC Ultimate Fighter last week. That they had their debut. Really enjoyed the first episode. We had an incredibly quick knockout. First fight of the year. It was done in I think like 13 seconds or something like that. It was just bam, over and out. Roosevelt. What's his last name again? Roosevelt.
No. Oh man.
I should have. Roosevelt. Anyway, he was the victor. Former UFC guy coming back, trying to make an appearance again. Was able to get an incredibly quick victory. They released the details on how many people watched it. They had 294,000 viewers. They said it was a pretty good night. They've had better, but tonight's second episode, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. I don't like that it's so late for the Eastern audience. I wish it was a little earlier for them. 10 o'clock, is pushing it. But I thought the first episode was great. Did you get a chance to see it at all?
Unfortunately, no. I missed it. I did want to watch it, and then something happened, and I can't even remember what it was. But I was super distracted. So I missed it.
Okay. Well, I'll try to record it tonight, and we'll talk about next week's episode. I'll have a little more details from it. Really loved seeing the interactions between Connor and the team and him and Chandler, and there was a lot of really fun aspects of it, and I think it's going to be an amazing season. There was a note also about UFC 289 that happens this weekend. Expecting Joe Rogan to come. He will not make an appearance. It's going to be John Anik, Daniel Cormier, and Paul Felder will be taking over for Joe Rogan. So Felder's great, and him and Cormier have a good thing going all the time and give a lot of great insight. So I do want to mention that Chris Weidman is finally coming back from his badly broken leg that he had break in his fight against Uriah Hall back in April of 2021. He will be fighting on the Boston card, UFC 292, August 19th. And that is against Brad Tavares. That is the card that has Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley as the main event. So welcome back, Chris Weidman. Glad he's coming back. That was such a horrifically bad broken leg when he did it on the kick against Uriah Hall's leg.
Yeah, and it was so weird and surreal because it seemed like it was the exact same thing that Anderson did to him where he broke his leg against Weidman. Like it seemed like it was like the exact same thing where you're just like, how does that happen? Are you kidding me? And I'm just glad to see that he's back and he's healthy because it was a bad break. It was a bad one.
The UFC made announcements this week that they've cut 8 fighters off the UFC roster. I'm going to list them off, and you tell me the biggest surprises you hear off of this card, off of this list. Mr. Finland, Makwan Amirkhani gone. Trevin Jones, Tony Gravely, Batjarel Damon, who else? Oh, Muniz Lazez, Joseph Holmes, Ilir Latifi, all cut this week.
Who was the first guy again?
Makwan Amirkhani, Mr. Finland.
Damn, I'm a little bit surprised that, but now that I say that, I don't know what his record was for the last couple though. So
yeah, he's been on a bit of a bad streak. He started out his MMA career or UFC career. He won 6 out of his first 8.
Okay.
But now he's dropped 5 out of his last 6, and only finished 7-7 in his UFC career up to now.
Okay, that's okay. Well, then that makes sense. And then Trevin Jones.
Trevin Jones, great fighter. Really surprised me too. But he just suffered his 4th straight loss.
Okay, all right. Well, no, those were the only 2 ones where I'm like, okay, I think those 2. And then Ilir Latifi at the end. How many did he lose? How was he on a losing streak? Obviously, he lost.
I think he was 2-2 in his last 4, but 9-7 in his career. Just sort of half, 500 almost, and I don't know. They just decided that was it.
Yeah. You know what? I can understand with Ilir because just from his last fight, it didn't seem like he wanted to engage. He seemed reluctant to engage in his last fight. That's the one thing that I noticed that, and I think I even noticed that in his last fight. So maybe that's why they're like, well, you're not actually engaging enough for us. So
right. Okay, I did want to mention quickly the two Cleveland Brown players were accosted, robbed at gunpoint by 6 masked men yesterday morning, early morning. They went out to their car, and 6 masked men jumped out with guns and stole their car. And funny enough, it was the 2nd stolen car by a Cleveland Browns player this week. And what the heck's going on in Cleveland? Greg Newsome II and defensive tackle Perry Winfrey. Luckily, we're not harmed, but we're shaken up a little bit when these men jumped out of a car and robbed them and stole their jewelry and their car and made off with it. Not a fun evening.
No, it's not a fun evening. It's kind of terrifying. And also too, so what are the criminals just targeting the Browns? Is that what they're doing? Is it they're just like, man, gotta get that Brown money, so we're just gonna target these guys? It's weird, and it's so odd that 2 guys in the same week. It's like, your car gets stolen too? Oh, okay. No, I don't feel that bad. Right.
Yeah, pretty rough, eh? Yeah, you go to work the next day and you're like going, oh man, you wouldn't believe what happened. Oh, did your car get stolen? Because mine did. You're like, what are you talking about? Seriously? Oh my God. You one-upped me before I even had a chance to open my mouth.
Yeah, I know, right? Now you got to go to Deshaun. Hey, can you give me a lift, like to practice? I don't have a car anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. One good NFL story is Damar Hamlin is back. He's practicing. He was in full pads, and really exciting that he's been able to come back from dying on the field and yeah, having such massive health trouble. And yeah, everybody was really thrilled to get him back and giving him an opportunity to play again very soon, hopefully.
No, that's awesome. Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear that he's got a clean bill of health and he can play the game that he loves so much again. And hopefully we don't see another scene like that. As long as I live, I would love to never see a scene like that, because that was tough.
That was very tough. Yeah. One last note, we don't talk about tennis much. We have a few times on this podcast, but I was quite surprised to hear about this big controversy in the tennis world. There was a Ukrainian girl, Elena Svitolina. She was facing a Russian tennis player, Arina Sabalenka. And after the match finished, typically the players are supposed to go to the net and give each other a handshake. The Ukrainian girl, Elena Svitolina, refused. No, not shaking a hand of a Russian, and just moved off, went and shook the hand of the referee and umpire, and that was it. And it has sparked up a ton of controversy that she would snub her, and this political war that's Russia occupation of Ukraine has permeated into the tennis world. And a lot of the media has been talking a lot about this over the past 24 hours here.
Okay, so I'm okay with that. Like, how about this? If Canada was at war with America, and then we're playing sports, we're playing tennis, Canadian against American, and Canadian said, "Nah, I'm good," I would be good with it too. Yeah. Being a proud Canadian myself, I would be good with that too. If she doesn't want it, because let's say this, we don't know what her backstory is. What if a couple of her family members have died in this war that's happening? Yeah. Do you think then, she should turn the other cheek? She should be the bigger person? No, I don't think so, man. No. That's not our life. That's not our life. So who am I to judge what she should do, right? My country's not at war with the opponent's country. I think my country's not at war like that. So I'm good with it. I am totally fine with whatever she wanted to do. If she wanted to shake her hand, cool. If she doesn't want to shake her hand, good with that as well.
I'm happy that she didn't shake her hand. I'm happy that she took her stand. The Russian girl took to the podium later and talking to the media and said, "I don't agree with the war. I'm not interested in politics. I'm a 24-year-old tennis player that's just trying to play her sport and continue on. But I've been pretty adamant that I don't think any Russian should be allowed to participate in sports right now. And, I agree that, she has nothing to do with it. Fine. And I'm glad she took a stand and said, I don't agree with the war. But, the Russian government utilizes wins by Russians as more examples of how great of a country they are, and, pumps up and uses that as sport washing. And so, we shouldn't even have this controversy because Russians shouldn't be allowed. Russians aren't allowed in most team competitions right now. They're not allowed in most individual large competitions because there's been so much cheating going on. So, I just think they should be completely banned across the world, and we wouldn't have anything to even talk about and deal with a controversy like this.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different stance from you. I appreciate the fact that she, like the young Russian tennis player, stood up and said what she said. I appreciate that. I wish more of the Russian athletes would say that. Like, if that's truly how they feel, I wish they would say that and be like, you know what? I'm sorry, but I don't agree with this. Like, I don't have no beef with the Ukraine. I never did, right? It would be cool if more of them said that. But at the same time, I understand why some of those guys can't say that, especially higher level like athletes and stuff, because then, you know, like their president is a little bit vindictive and he can put your family at risk. That's why I think that's the other side of the coin there, right?
Right.
Whereas if I speak out and I'm who I am, now all of a sudden I say, we're getting these weird calls. Apparently you're not supposed to talk anymore, or else we're going to feel the wrath, like the family, right? So it's a sticky situation. It's a sticky situation. I just wish this bullshit would be over with, because it's just nonsensical. Loss of life for what? Like what? For what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no, I would love it to end this minute of the day, and just it's senseless. It doesn't need to happen, and it's not. I don't think it's benefiting any person on the planet. Yeah.
No, it doesn't benefit anybody. Like, it's just, I think personally, it just feeds one man's ego. When one man's ego is killing a lot of people. So that's it.
Yeah. So, okay, man. Well, this was great as always. Thanks so much for all your awesome insight. And I'm glad we could do this on a Tuesday, a beautiful Tuesday. And let's get together a little bit this week and enjoy some UFC festivities. Let me know about Friday. And let's hope we can go to the event somehow. I'm still looking into tickets, and hopefully I can secure some and we can go and enjoy it. It would be nice to see live, even if it's not an amazing card. Still be great to be there.
Yeah, of course, it would definitely be great to be there. It's just hopefully the price comes down a little bit, little bit, like especially with some of the cancellations that that should add to that. But we'll see. Yeah. Hope is always there. So.
Okay, man. Enjoy your afternoon. We will talk soon. Take care. Thanks so much.
Right. Take care, man. Talk to you later.
Okay, great. All right. Bye for now. Okay. Well, I got to slide a little. That way? Do I? Okay. There we go. Okay. Thanks so much for sticking in. Appreciate your support as always. Thank you for your ongoing support on social media and on YouTube, and to our website and everything. Really thrilled and happy with all the support we're getting, all the great feedback, comments, questions. Man, we had a great weekend. Holy cow, were we ever busy. We went to see concert Zoso, a Led Zeppelin tribute band. Amazing. Got to go to see the Vancouver Canadians. Got a trip up to Whistler. Man, it was fun. Got to see some friends, family. It was an awesome weekend, and hope you're enjoying this early summer like we are too. And enjoy the UFC if you get a chance to go or just watch it at home. It's worth watching. If you're a fan of our show, you know how great the UFC can be and all the things that are there. Enjoy the NBA Finals. We didn't talk about the NHL. Wow, Vegas is up 2 games, looking super dominant. 2 very dominant wins. And I think Florida's in a load of trouble. I wouldn't count them out, though. Look at the year they've had. Holy cow. Impressive being able to knock off who they've knocked off. And they were down 3-1 to Boston, don't forget. So don't count them out. I think there's going to be some victories for Florida. But, wow, has Vegas ever looked great in those first 2? Anyway, love you guys lots. Thanks a lot for all your support. I want to thank our partners and sponsors as always. Thanks to Anchor, easiest place to make a podcast and fantastic on posting on multiple podcast platforms for us. I want to thank Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, an industry leader in technology, performance, and value. And the V356 is a must-have for anybody that plays hockey in your midst. I want to thank Pampas and Possibilities, designers of West Coast pretty things for your home, really spruce up your home and make it look great. And as well as Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products. We love those products, and you can get them at discounted rates on our website. So go over to CompleteSportsMedia.com and do so. Take care of yourself. Love you lots. Have a fantastic week ahead. and we will talk to you very soon. Take care. Bye for now.